History whispers a truth we've forgotten. The men who transformed civilization, who bent reality to their will, were never slaves to productivity. They were servants of obsession. Da Vinci didn't schedule innovation. He vanished into Florence's shadows for days, decoding light itself. Tesla didn't optimize for efficiency. He constructed entire electrical empires in his mind while the world slept. They weren't balanced. They weren't normal. They were possessed. And that possession, that all-consuming fire, is what transmuted mortal men into legends whose names echo through centuries. Michelangelo didn't paint the Sistine Chapel by maintaining work-life balance. He laid on his back for 4 years, paint dripping into his eyes, refusing to wash or change clothes. When assistants begged him to rest, he replied, "Genius is eternal patience." Einstein didn't discover relativity through productivity hacks. He visualized himself riding alongside a beam of light for 10 years. The same question, the same obsession, until the universe revealed itself. Genius isn't inherited. Genius is forged through relentless focus, through sacred obsession, through brutal war against mediocrity. If something within you hungers for more than existence, if you feel greatness dormant in your blood, then what follows is your awakening. Every man alive today is drowning in a dopamine ocean. The endless scroll, the perpetual ping, the ceaseless content stream. Our ancestors contemplated fire and gazed at stars. You consume 1,000 fragmented thoughts before your first meal. You aren't just distracted, you're decimated. The hidden price. Your mind never reaches the depths where brilliance is born, where patterns connect, where vision crystallizes. The science is undeniable. The average person touches their phone 2,617 times daily. Your focus fragments every 40 seconds. Your brain chemistry has been weaponized against you. Da Vinci never had notifications fracturing his attention. Tesla never had algorithms competing for his consciousness. Newton never had infinite content designed to keep him in a state of perpetual stimulation without satisfaction. They possessed the rarest resources of our age: unbroken solitude, sacred silence, focus so absolute it bordered on madness. Consider the monk who achieves enlightenment after years of meditation, the poet who isolates herself in nature to write verses that shake generations, the scientist who refuses collaboration because other minds would only dilute his vision. Here lies the unspoken truth. Genius isn't random fortune. It's methodically cultivated through conditions most men actively flee from. Stillness that terrifies, discomfort that transforms, obsession that consumes. As Marcus Aurelius wrote amid the chaos of war, nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul. The modern mind runs from solitude because in silence it must confront itself. It must face the question, have I been worthy of my potential? If you cannot dwell in silence, you cannot access your greatness. And if you cannot command your attention, someone else will harvest it for profit. Leonardo da Vinci wasn't born transcendent. He became it. He filled more than 7,000 pages with relentless inquiry, sketches, questions, diagrams, possibilities. He dissected human corpses by candlelight to understand the architecture of muscle and sinew. He drew the same hand dozens of times until he captured not just its form, but its essence. Not for recognition, but for understanding. He wrote, "Those who look for the laws of nature as a support for their new works collaborate with the Creator." This wasn't balance. This was divine compulsion. When commissioned to paint The Last Supper, Leonardo would sometimes stare at the wall for hours, brush in hand, making not a single stroke. When questioned, he replied, "The greatest geniuses sometimes accomplish more when they work less." Then, in a sudden fever, he would paint without stopping to eat or drink. Leonardo abandoned lucrative commissions when deeper questions seized him. He would observe water currents for hours to decode their mathematical patterns. Consider his obsession with flight. For decades, he filled notebooks with bird-wing studies. He built and rebuilt mechanical wings, studying every failure. He wrote backwards to protect his discoveries. He died still dreaming of human flight. The modern world would diagnose this as pathology. Da Vinci recognized it as preparation. His patrons demanded speed. Leonardo offered something better, transcendence through slowness. And from that defiant slowness emerged flying machines conceptualized 400 years before flight. Anatomical understanding centuries ahead of medicine. The Mona Lisa, whose eyes still follow us across half a millennium. Study the science of art and the art of science, he instructed himself. While others specialized, he integrated. While others sought quick results, he sought eternal truth. The lesson burns clear. Don't pursue mastery. Pursue the question that haunts you. The masterpiece will manifest when you've earned the right to receive it. Nikola Tesla rejected normality as poison. He witnessed electrical phantoms when thoughts crystallized. He could engineer entire machines, rotating, functioning, perfected, entirely within his mind's architecture before touching a single component. While Edison tested 10,000 materials for his light bulb, Tesla built his inventions mentally, perfect and complete, before manifesting them physically. Tesla's mind wasn't just different, it was sovereign. He once told his financier, J.P. Morgan, "If you want to understand the universe, think of energy, frequency, and vibration." The banker stared blankly, unable to grasp the vision. Tesla lived in deliberate isolation, slept merely 2 hours nightly, walked precisely 10 miles daily, alone, to sustain his connection to insight. His peculiarities were legendary. He required 18 napkins at every meal. He calculated the cubic volume of his food before eating. He communed with pigeons when humans proved inadequate companions. He was ridiculed, underfunded, nearly erased from history. Yet he single-handedly electrified the future. Alternating current, wireless transmission, remote control. He created the 20th century while living like a monk from another dimension, not through collaboration, but through sovereign isolation. When he demonstrated wireless energy at the World's Fair, witnesses wept. When he lit vacuum tubes wirelessly on a mountainside, they called it sorcery. "The present is theirs," he said of his critics. "The future, for which I really worked, is mine." As Carl Jung later observed, "Your vision will become clear only when you look into your heart. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakens." Tesla looked inward with such intensity that reality had no choice but to reshape itself around his vision. We label such men eccentric, but what appears as madness is simply a consciousness that has penetrated deeper than ordinary men dare venture. Obsession isn't pathology. Obsession is the gateway between mortal achievement and immortal impact, but it demands complete surrender and a will forged stronger than comfort's seduction. Modern wisdom worships at balance's altar, but balance maintains. It doesn't create. Creation demands glorious imbalance. The sculptor disappears into marble for days. The warrior abandons sleep before decisive battle. The prophet vanishes into wilderness for 40 days of revelation. Mozart composed his requiem on his deathbed, racing against mortality itself. Van Gogh created 860 oil paintings in his final decade, often one per day, barely eating or sleeping. Beethoven composed his greatest symphonies while completely deaf, feeling the vibrations through the floor with a wooden rod held in his teeth. You don't inscribe your name in history through moderation. Consider the Greek concept of enthusiasmos, literally means possessed by a god. The ancients understood what we've forgotten. True creation requires divine madness. J. Robert Oppenheimer immersed himself in the Bhagavad Gita before splitting the atom. He didn't seek comfort, he sought clarity, even as it led toward terrible power. When asked if the Trinity test was the first nuclear explosion, he replied, "Yes, in modern times." He knew he had unleashed something ancient and terrifying, yet he pursued it nonetheless. The line separating genius from destruction remains razor-thin, but without walking that dangerous edge, you'll never discover what sleeps within you. The heroes of humanity were not well adjusted. Steve Jobs was tyrannical in his pursuit of perfection. Marie Curie died of radiation poisoning from her own discoveries. Pythagoras started a cult that worshipped numbers and murdered dissenters. As Seneca declared, no man was ever wise by chance. Wisdom, like genius, emerges through trial, through sacrifice that ordinary men refuse, through obsession that the mediocre mock. Nietzsche captured this when he wrote, "One must still have chaos in oneself to be able to give birth to a dancing star." You don't need to be balanced. You need to be directed with absolute precision. Your focus is your weapon. Your obsession is your forge fire. Genius isn't granted, it's cultivated. Here's your path. 1. Ruthless focus. Implement the deep work protocol for 4 uninterrupted hours, 0 distractions, no digital intrusions, 1 mission, 1 question, 1 breakthrough. The novelist Haruki Murakami rises at 4 a.m. and writes for 6 hours straight. For 30 years, without exception, he runs marathons, but never during writing hours. His time is sovereign. While others fragment themselves, you will become whole. Begin tomorrow. Disable all notifications permanently. Work in 90-minute unbroken blocks. Measure output by depth, not volume. The average man's attention has been commodified. Yours will become sacred again. 2. Systematic curiosity. Like Da Vinci, carry a dedicated notebook everywhere. Capture what ignites your fascination. Sketch it, map it, question it relentlessly. Darwin kept 19 detailed notebooks during his 5-year voyage on the Beagle. He didn't know he was assembling the puzzle pieces of evolution. He simply documented obsessively what others overlooked. Richard Feynman taught, study hard what interests you the most in the most undisciplined, irreverent, and original manner possible. Transform every spark into a systematic investigation. Connect what no one else connects. Question what everyone else accepts. 3. Sacred solitude. Carve out 1 hour daily of absolute mental sovereignty. No music, no screens, no input whatsoever. Walk alone, stare at ceilings, allow your subconscious to speak. Researchers at Harvard discovered that solitude activates the brain's default mode network, the same neural circuit responsible for breakthrough insights and creative connection. The philosopher Kierkegaard walked the streets of Copenhagen daily. "I have walked myself into my best thoughts," he wrote. Above all, do not lose your desire to walk. The answers you seek already exist within, and you will hear them if you create space to receive them. Implement this immediately. Schedule void time as non-negotiable. Eliminate background stimulation. Embrace the discomfort of your own company. 4. Purposeful obsession. Select your mountain carefully, then climb it with monastic devotion. You don't need 10 mediocre pursuits. You need one that will break you, rebuild you, and immortalize you. James Cameron lived in his car while writing the script for The Terminator. When studio executives suggested changes, he refused to sell unless he could direct. He waited tables rather than compromise his vision. Mozart wrote to his father, "People err who think my art comes easily to me. Nobody has devoted so much time and thought to composition as I." Ask yourself tonight, what would you pursue if failure were impossible? What question would you spend decades answering? What creation would justify your existence? Then burn the alternatives. 5. Invisible mastery. Like Tesla, construct your creation completely in mind first. Then, and only then, manifest it into reality. Refine with merciless precision. Fall in love with the invisible work that precedes visible greatness. The chess grandmaster, Bobby Fischer, practiced by playing entire matches in his head. The composer John Williams hears complete symphonies before writing a single note. The architect Tadao Ando visualizes entire buildings, every shadow, every beam of light before drawing the first line. Most men rush to execution because they crave validation. The master delays execution until the vision achieves perfection in the mind. Begin your practice. Visualize your creation in complete detail. Rehearse your performance in absolute silence. Execute only when internal clarity is complete. You haven't missed your moment. You've simply been systematically distracted from it. The deeper you go, the higher you rise. Genius isn't discovered by accident. It's forged deliberately, in defiant silence, through necessary suffering, through solitary obsession with what matters beyond time. History remembers only those who refused to conform, those who worked while others slept, those who pursued what others mocked, those who suffered what others avoided. Leonardo, Tesla, Jung, Marcus Aurelius, Michelangelo, Einstein, Curie, Nietzsche. These titans weren't granted special dispensation at birth. They made a choice, the same choice that faces you now. Live as everyone else does and be forgotten, or burn with sacred obsession and become immortal. Seneca warned, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." Modern society has weaponized your distractions, commodified your attention, normalized your mediocrity, and called it balanced. These men left no roadmap to comfort. They left a trail of sacred fire. I leave you with the words of Goethe, who wrote, "The moment one definitely commits oneself, then providence moves too. All sorts of things occur to help one that would never otherwise have occurred. Whatever you can do, or dream you can do, begin it. Boldness has genius, power, and magic in it. The question isn't whether you can follow it. The question is whether you're brave enough to be consumed by it." This is Deionos, where timeless philosophy becomes a weapon in modern war.